I used to have a toxic relationship with money, and I believe you might have one too. So in this video, I want to show you that there's a different way to do things, a better way. And I'm going to share with you 5 money habits that I've implemented in my own life that have not only improved my finances, but also made me happier, more relaxed, and fulfilled. But first, let me dispel a myth. You may have a toxic relationship with money, yes, but it's not your fault. I mean, just look at your YouTube feed. We live in a world where we're being constantly bombarded with the idea that money buys happiness. In one way or another, the underlying message is always the same. Make more money and life will work itself out. It's a simple formula, that's what makes it so catchy. But ironically, it's one of those beliefs that are so f***ed up, they make just about everyone miserable. Because if you're struggling to make enough money, that belief makes you feel inadequate and guilty for everything your life is lacking. It makes you think that if you don't have more, it's because you're not good enough, or you're not trying hard enough, or you simply don't deserve it. But here's the crazy thing. The ones making tons of money who also believe this shit, they feel terrible too. Because surprise, surprise, all that money doesn't actually make their lives better. In fact, in many ways, it makes them worse. So they feel guilty and inadequate, and they don't even feel entitled to express those feelings, because why should they complain when they should be grateful instead? It's messed up. So regardless of your financial situation, I encourage you to give the next 5 money habits a try. They work for me, and I honestly think they will help you too. The last habit in particular saved me from a life of constant struggle. This is essential. If your bank balance goes up and you have a high and feel better about yourself, but then it goes down and you feel worse, I have news for you. Money is no longer a tool for you. It's become a scoreboard, not of your wealth, but of your own self-worth. And you might think that that's not a problem when things are going up, but you're wrong. If your sense of self gets tied to how much you make, how fast you're growing, and how you compare with others, no matter how much you win, you're never gonna feel like a winner. Because the finish line is gonna keep moving, and there's always gonna be someone doing better, someone younger, someone who figured things out faster. And instead of money giving you freedom and happiness, it's gonna be a constant reminder that you're not enough yet. And don't kid yourself, that's not ambition, and that's definitely not motivation. That's pressure for the sake of pressure. So the first healthy money habit is to refuse to let money determine who you are and what is your worth. I know, everything else is telling you otherwise, but you have to fight this impulse. Here are 3 little tricks to help you do just that. First, stop rewarding yourself for earning. Reward yourself for non-monetary achievements instead. Celebrate your quality of life, not the deals you've closed or the amount of zeros on your yearly income. Second, stop punishing yourself for slow money periods. When things go south, when sales slow down or the deal doesn't go through, don't just cut on expenses that make you feel happy because you haven't earned the right to them or because you don't deserve them anymore. That's super unhealthy and honestly counterproductive. If you can still afford to pay for those things, keep them for as long as they make you happy. Because punishing yourself and making yourself miserable is not gonna magically help you make any more money. In fact, probably the opposite. Third, you should change the way you talk about money. Money is data, not identity. So if that data has no place in the conversation, simply don't talk about it. Don't even hint at it. I know it's tempting, but if you try to shape your social image based on what you earn or what you own or do not own, you will end up making that your identity. So focus on something else that is meaningful instead. Find something that truly defines you, that you're passionate about, and let that be your introduction card. Here's another uncomfortable truth. A toxic relationship with money is obsessed with looking successful, while a healthy relationship with money is obsessed with feeling calm. And those two goals often point in completely opposite directions. Because status is loud, it's external, it's something other people can see. But peace is quiet. It doesn't show on Instagram and no one claps for it. So when money becomes available, the question most people unconsciously ask is, what will make me look like I'm doing well? And that's a dangerous question. A healthier question is, what will make my life less stressful? That shift alone changes everything. Because when you prioritize status, money turns into pressure. You get nicer things that need maintaining. You design lifestyles that require constant income. And you commit to purchases that lock you into future commitments of time, effort, and money. So while externally you might look successful, internally you'll feel more fragile than ever before. That's why you see so many people with high-paying jobs unable to breathe or take a break and afraid of getting sick because they built a palace of glass that can shatter any second. However, when you prioritize peace, money does the opposite. It buys you margin, it buys you time, it buys you mental space and quiet. And here's the irony. People who feel calm often end up doing better long-term anyway. So the healthy money habit here is simple but not easy. Before any big purchase, ask yourself, is this making my life quieter or noisier? Simpler or more complex? If a purchase makes your life quieter, simpler, and less anxious, that's money doing its job. If it doesn't, please reconsider. Let me give you a few examples of what you really want. A cleaner or simpler living space, a shorter commute or the option to work less, comfortable clothes that last instead of flashy ones that impress, outsourcing smaller stressors instead of upgrading appearances, and things that literally buy you back time. And sure, no one will notice most of these things, but you will feel them every single day. This one is subtle, and that's why it's dangerous. Here's the hard truth. You can earn great money, you can save a lot, you can even do everything right financially and still have an exhausting, unhealthy relationship with money. In fact, the more money you make and accumulate, the more likely that is the case. Because you see, if you're constantly thinking about money, about protecting your money, about saving it and investing it for maximum return, your money has a hidden cost: your attention. To prove this point, I'm going to tell you a funny story that happened to me about 15 years ago. Back then, I was still buying lottery every week, and after a few weeks without a winner, the pot had grown to huge proportions. As usual, I started fantasizing about what would I do with all that money, and little by little, I started to convince myself that this was going to be my time. I was going to win all that money. It was going to happen. Well, do you know what happened next? I started to freak out. You see, the pot was in euros, and the European economy at that time was quite fragile. So I started to wonder if I should convert the money to dollars. And then I started thinking about the best diversification strategies. And then I started worrying about taxes and how to protect against inflation. And before I knew it, my heart was racing and I was all stressed out for a money I had not even won. Now, I never won that money, obviously. But the moral of the story is that for money to improve your life, it should not require daily emotional labor. Your heart shouldn't be racing every morning while tracking the performance of the stocks you just bought. Instead, a healthy relationship with money needs distance. So instead of actively managing your wealth and tracking your portfolio every day, build systems that give you peace of mind and quietly run in the background. Not to maximize returns, but to reclaim your mental space. That means you should try automating your savings, your bills, and your core investments. And once the system works, you step away and enjoy life. And there's something deeply underrated here: paying for predictability. Because setting aside an emergency fund isn't just financial insurance, it's emotional insurance. And fixed costs aren't boring, they create mental clarity. And a fixed interest mortgage is not a waste of money, it's an investment on quality of sleep. Now, are those optimal allocation strategies from a wealth maximization point of view? Probably not. But at some point, stabilizing has a way higher impact on your quality of life than maximizing returns. Because uncertainty is expensive for you, for your health, and for your happiness. And sooner or later, it takes a toll. Don't ask me why, but ever since I was a kid, I've had a very strong sense of the value of money, and I've been very reluctant to spend it. It's funny because I'm Catalan and we're famous in Spain for being tight-fisted, and well, in my case, I guess it's true. But my family is definitely not like that. I mean, I grew up in a working-class family, but I never saw them struggle to make ends meet, and my grandfather in particular, he was as generous with the little money he had as anyone can be. So yeah, I don't know why I'm wired to pinch pennies, but I do, especially in regards to expenses that affect myself. Now, being thrifty is not bad per se. It definitely has played a role in me achieving financial freedom so early in life. But a money-saving mindset sustained over years can end up becoming a problem if the brain starts seeing the act of spending money in a negative light. If every coffee feels wrong, if every purchase needs justification, if every moment of enjoyment comes with a little voice saying, is that really worth it? Perhaps you shouldn't. In other words, if every expense is met with shame and guilt, you have a toxic relationship with money too. Because money is a tool, and as such, we must allow ourselves to enjoy using that tool to obtain those things that make us happy. If we don't use it for that, then what for? So here's the habit I designed to make my relationship with spending money healthier. I created a no-guilt spending zone. It's simple. It's a category of expense where you give yourself permission to spend without tracking, without explaining, and without guilt, because you know that it has a great impact on your happiness. That could be food, books, experiences, small daily comforts, your morning coffee, or a new board game every now and then. Finally, let's talk about the money habit that literally changed my life. I am one of those lucky few who achieved financial independence at a young age, and part of the reason I did is because I took my time to figure out how much was enough. Because here's the uncomfortable truth no one tells you about. If you don't decide what enough means, money will decide it for you. And guess what money thinks of enough? There's never enough. This is how a lot of people end up trapped. On paper, they're winning, but internally, they're tense. Because when enough is undefined, every gain feels temporary and every loss feels catastrophic. You don't feel safe, you feel exposed, and suddenly money isn't supporting your life, it's questioning it. Now, I'm asking you to define enough, but don't get me wrong, this is not about giving up ambition, it's about containing it. It's saying, this level of income, stability, and lifestyle gives me freedom. Here, I'm happy and content, and anything beyond this is optional. And optional money hits differently. It doesn't hijack your self-worth. It doesn't dictate your mood. It doesn't turn every decision into a high-stakes gamble that triggers your anxiety. It becomes a bonus, not a requirement for feeling okay. A healthy money relationship allows you to enjoy where you are without constantly preparing for where you're not. So here's the habit. Write down what enough looks like for you. Enough income, enough savings, enough comfort, enough ambition, and then protect that definition. Because once you know what enough is, money finally stops yelling, and for the first time, it does what it was supposed to do all along: support your life instead of running it. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, is this. Money is not your enemy, and it's not your savior either. It's a tool. And like any tool, the damage or the benefit doesn't come from the tool itself, but from how you use it and why. A toxic relationship with money turns it into a judge, a scoreboard, a source of pressure, fear, and constant comparison. A healthy relationship turns money into support, into margin, into space to breathe, think, and live. So don't just ask how to make more money. Ask what kind of life you want your money to serve. Because money can upgrade your lifestyle, yes, but only a healthy relationship with money will truly improve your life.